when I was talking to you about my sleep apnea, I just happened to actually mention it in passing. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, I just went to my sleep doctor, and my first sleep study, I would stop breathing 45 times an hour. And my last doctor's appointment, I was down to 1 time an hour. And when I told you that, I was kind of speechless because the look on your face was like, holy shit, and then I was like, well, yeah, no big deal, I guess. As I was saying it, but then your reaction was like, oh yeah, I guess that is a freaking big deal.
What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another episode of Dieting from the Inside Out, because we all know outer work without inner work doesn't work. And today is a testament to that, because in today's episode, I'm showing you a case study that I think will resonate hard with a level amount of you that watch the show. Today is a client interview. I am interviewing our client, Donna, and Coach Sydnee, because in this episode, you're going to learn how Donna not only has caused some crazy stuff to happen in her life, but the most important thing is how you can apply the principles and the actions and the strategies that we did with Donna so you can have the same results in your own life. And to give perspective, not to give too many spoiler alerts, but in the last few months, Donna has not just lost weight. She's down like 20 pounds. Like, imagine being down like 20 pounds of fat, but she's also fixed her entire relationship with food. So she's able to enjoy her life and go out and do things like that without stress or anxiety or guilt, or including binge eating. So the binge eating is completely gone. And she's even having her health indicators for like from a longevity and life, like quality of life and living longer point of view. Her like sleep apnea is completely gone and all these different things. It's insane to watch. And I love doing it because this is the exact reason I coach and that we do this, because this is what it's about. It's about causing mass change in people's lives that it's not only about losing weight. Like, yeah, she's down 20 pounds, feels amazing, clothes are fitting, happier, all these things, but her life is different. Her relationship with food is healed, and she's not binge eating and emotional eating anymore. She's not suppressing her emotions anymore. She's not avoiding her favorite foods or her favorite social events because of food anymore. She's going to live longer and be able to spend time with her kids and grandkids because she didn't have sleep apnea anymore. Like, it's absurd. But the crazy part is she's been able to do this in just the last several months, which is unreal. And again, I don't like to talk about timelines because everyone's journey is their own. But the thing is, Donna has been, and she'll talk about it, through so many different challenges or diets or programs. But things were different this time because, like the name of the show, we dieted her from the inside out. And that's what changed the game for her. And that's all I want you to realize and for you to take home, is that the solution to getting the life that you want is to diet from the inside out. It's why the name of the show is this, okay? So I'm going to shut up now and get Donna and Sydnee on, because I'm telling you, this is not just a highlight reel. This is why I like to do full interviews with our clients, because it's not just a before and after picture that's not relatable and it's like, well, good for them. This is where you can hear her story, hear her upbringing, understand everything about her, and hear how similar her story may be to yours. But because she did it, and she's maybe just like you listening to this, or have some case or things about her life that resonate, it's going to give you hope that, like, well, if Donna could do it, and she had that background, she had that thing happen to her, and this was her life. Well, that sounds an awful lot like mine. Maybe I can do it. And that's all I want out of this. But then to make it really tactical, we get into the strategies and tactics of it so you can apply those to your life. So I'm going to shut up now, get them on here, and I will talk to you in just a second. So where things were at before coaching, I know, like, because like you were just saying, like you originally you came from Nick, because Nick is one of my really good friends. And you came originally from his program and what he was doing in some challenges, but things weren't in a really good spot before all this, right?
Oh no. Definitely not. It was kind of the vicious circle of, hey, I'm going to try something. I'm going to do this diet. I'm going to fail. I'm going to quit. I'm going to get depressed. And then, hey, I'm going to try something else. And it just kept going around and around, where, I would end up losing weight, but then I'd gain it back plus more. And the one thing, after listening to actually the introduction module, none of the diets, none of the doctors I ever talked to, they talked about the number on the scale and calories. They never got into the why, the inner work. And it was like, Well, yeah, that's what I've been lacking for. Well, I'm 66 years old, so you know, put put any number on there, and it's like no one ever talked about the inner work. It was like, oh no, your success is the number on the scale. It's the number of calories you eat. It's the choices that you make, and a lot of it was, well, you can't have this and you can't have that. And now when I think about it, it's like, wow, that was just a
Yeah.
setup for
For
failure.
sure. Well, and that's why our motto is outer work without inner work doesn't work, because you were doing all the things. Like, this is the thing where most people miss the mark with. Like, a lot of people think because they're not seeing the success they want to see, it's they're lazy or their why isn't strong enough or something's wrong with them or all this stuff. And it's like, no, like your system was setting you up for failure if it's leaving out this entire chunk of your life and your overall being, which is your inner game. So we fix that and it's just like everything else falls into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in the past, and again, it was kind of one of these epiphany moments. It's like, yeah, I was always comparing myself to somebody else's success, or somebody else's weight loss. Somebody, I never looked at me. I was always looking at someone else and thinking, well, they're successful, I'm not, so I'm a fail. So I failed.
Sure. So what made this time different?
I think this time it's I've learned more about myself, and I've learned it's okay to not have everything go perfect. I'm going to have better. Some days are going to be better than others, and it's just, I think, the way I've decided to think about things. For instance, I don't have cheat days anymore. I don't call them cheat days because every day I choose what I'm going to eat. And whether I have cookies that day or not, I'm not cheating. I've chosen to have that. And so to me, it's like every day is just a normal day. Whether I have ice cream that day or, go to the Dairy Queen and have a Blizzard, it's the choice I made. And I don't consider it cheating. I just put it into the equation.
I love that. You know, what's interesting is a lot of people fail because like I have people all the time like will message me and ask about that, or like, Jared, well, how many cheat days can I have per week? And I'm like, you don't understand. If your plan alone has that, like it's set, the whole thing is setting you up for failure, because what you're doing shouldn't be that strict. It shouldn't be that rigid, where it should be pretty, what I would call chill. And like, it's not always this way, but frictionless. You know what I mean? Where we can't enable one thing and find another. We can't enable all this crazy chaos and overwhelm and rules, but then somehow find peace, freedom, and happiness. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I think most of my life, which I didn't realize until now, is that, I'm understanding the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. And I would say most of my life, I probably was eating more emotionally than I was, because I was actually hungry. And at that point, it would be like, if I have a box of Oreos, I'm going to eat a box of Oreos. So it was just destructive thinking. And it was like, how was I actually going to succeed when I couldn't, when I had these negative thoughts?
Totally.
So it's been an eye opener.
Sydnee, talk about it from your perspective a little bit. Like you've been the one in the trenches working with Donna, coaching her, and that's a pretty big turnaround. That's a pretty big 180, going from these big struggles to now like where she's at now, and we'll get into that in a minute. But talk about it from the coaching end, like some of the strategy you guys use and tactics and things like that.
Yeah, we focused a lot in the beginning on identity and making sure that all of our choices were based off of that person that she wants to be, right? We talked a lot about food being good or bad, or carbs being good or bad, and kind of getting into the whys behind things. But Donna has been one who just commits and does the things, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, and has done really, really, really good in that perspective.
I love that. So Donna, was there, what things for you was difficult to grasp at first? Cause like you've had to unlearn a lot, going from like the challenge vibe and the challenge life and cheat meals and rigid and restriction and all that. This is a big mental 180, the way that we teach. So for you, how was it unlearning those things where if like before carbs were bad or sugar was bad or you have to avoid Oreos? How was it having to unlearn some of these things?
I think the main takeaway was when I listened. Well, honestly, when I first talked to you, I was like, you know what? I joined the coaching program for a year, and I'm like, I'm putting out a boatload of money for this. And at the time, I'm like, well, this is what's going to be one of my motivators. Is I've got this I'm invested. And then I listened to the first introduction module, and I was like, holy shit, this is absolutely different. It's like no other time have they ever talked about working on the inner me, taking it slow. You're going to fail. You're going to have failures. It's not going to feel good. Um, and it's okay. I've never heard that before. And it was like, wow, this is something interesting. And, as I was going through the different modules, it was like, holy shit, you know what? You're saying what I've been trying to put together in my thought process, but was never able to really, explain it to myself. And so, it's just been eye opening. And I'm so glad that I found this program because, it's made a huge change in my life.
I love that. That makes me so happy. For you, I'm curious. I always like to ask this question. Was the change, because like you've changed so much, and to be honest, such a short period of time. Was it like an all of a sudden like light bulb moment, like, oh, this is it, and like all these shifts happened? Or for you, was it more of a slow change to all of a sudden like you're not struggling with food and all this stuff anymore? Was there like one big thing, or was it just like a slow growth kind of thing for you?
It was slow and steady because, like I said, normally it would be, oh, you've got this many weeks or you've got to lose this much, weight each week. And I found out that slow and steady works great for me because things happen so subtly that you don't even realize that they've happened. And all of a sudden you just start doing this stuff, that you didn't do before. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what? It just happened. There wasn't any aha moment. It was just so gradual, and you would be slow and steady at it, and it was like it works.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, what's funny is a lot of people, like you said, the slow and steady works for me best, and that's true. But here, the funny part is for everyone listening, it works for everyone best. Like fat loss is never supposed to be this like wham bam rapid thing. It's supposed to be slow. I always joke, but I'm serious when I say fat loss is like pregnancy. Nothing cool is supposed to happen until about 9 months later. You know what I mean? And even in the world of fat loss, like you've seen, like I don't like to talk about like crazy fast progress because I think it sets people up for failure. People naturally compare. But in that world, you've seen crazy results. Like in the last few months, you've lost a lot of weight sustainably while fixing your relationship with food, stopped binge eating, and basically got rid of your sleep apnea in like 90 days. Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Well, and the one thing before I started this program, for one thing, I never would have felt comfortable coming on a podcast and talking about it. And, the other thing is it's like, I've become more accepting of myself. It's like, even with other programs and stuff, I'd be on Zoom calls and I'd keep the camera off. And it was, that was just my little comfort zone. And now it's like, I'm getting better at it. It's like, I feel better about myself. So it's like, I'm not afraid to show it.
Sure. I love that.
And I'll admit it was uncomfortable when I first had to start taking, the photos, and I'd look at them and I'd just kind of cringe. And now it's like, well, you know what? It is what it is. I know I'm making success, I'm making progress, and, just do it and get it over with. It's not like, your world is going to come crashing down because of it.
It's funny. It's interesting. And I'm glad you said that because it's the epitome of, we have to do hard things to become a different version of ourselves. Like everyone wants to stay in their world of their comfort zone, but your comfort zone and what you do currently is what keeps you the current reality, right? If someone's not happy with the way they are, it's because their actions have stayed in their little bubble. So of course, doing things outside of your comfort zone is the magic. I can't remember whose quote it was, but it's the old saying of the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. You know, even with like something like progress pictures, it's not like we're posting those online. Those are literally just for you and Sydnee. So Sydnee can make sure you're making the right amount of progress. But for most people, it's like, fuck, I don't want to do it. Well, that's the reason to do it, right? It's always those things that are a little bit outside of our comfort zone. Like that's where the realm of magic happens, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of the stuff, one of the big things I'm learning is like the inner, working on the inner me. It was like, that was always uncomfortable because I grew up with the thought that you didn't show emotions. If you were a child, it was okay to cry, but when you were an adult, it was like you just kept everything internalized, and that's how I lived my life. And now I'm learning that there's times I get triggered or frustrated or depressed, and it's okay to have a good cry, and it's okay to feel bad for a few minutes. I don't dwell on it, but it's okay to show emotions. And that was one thing, like I said, I grew up not, I was told not to do that because we just didn't do that.
That just shows the epitome, and I'll let Sydnee touch on this too, the epitome of how coachable you are, because this is the shit no one wants to do, right? Like most people will, grit their teeth and like eat in a deficit or do some workouts. But like the true hardest work is being patient, undoing old ways of thinking, and completely rethinking your character, your identity, and how you handle the darkest parts of you. Right. In the era that most of us grew up in, but like as the older someone is, the harder that era was around. Like therapy wasn't popular. Emotional regulation wasn't popular. Crying wasn't popular. Like, it's the old, like we shut our emotions down, things are better, like to just forget it, throw it in the closet and forget it's there. But the fact that you've had to unlearn that, but the thing is you've done it with an open mind, an open heart, and open arms. And then that's why I'm not surprised at all that you've seen such great success in such a, to be honest, short period of time. But that's the thing that most people miss. Most people aren't so willing to jump and be so coachable and to do the hard things. One of my favorite books of all time, I probably have like 5 episodes where I bring this book up in conversation. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. The entire book is Resistance is Required. It's like the whole book is on sabotage basically, but it's the concept of resistance is required. And for you, any breakthrough that you've had, there's been the resistance, and you go, okay, I'm just going to go through it. Okay, I'm just going to go through it. So Sydnee, I'd love to hear your take on that, like with that side of things and how you guys have been able to, in the coaching dynamic, implement that and why it's been so successful.
Sure. I think just being able to talk about it and even realizing that, Donna, you're not the only one that feels these things, right? If you feel those emotions, I think we've talked a little bit about how when our brain thinks of something to say, it thinks of so many more words than we can get out. And so that extra energy has to come out. So whenever we have those big feelings, those big thoughts, some of that comes out as emotion. And so emotion is just energy in motion. There's no guilt or shame. It just is. The other thing too, I think Donna is just super, super great at patience. I was thinking about this the other day when I was driving to work, and I'm like, being on this coaching journey is similar to driving across the country from my house. I could drive to New York, right? That would take a freaking long time, and the drive would be boring, and I'd have to stop for gas, and I might blow a tire, right? But you have to do the boring and sometimes detour and make these changes that aren't super fun to get to that destination. And so just knowing that you just keep on driving and eventually you'll get there. So I think Donna's done a really, really good job at being okay if there's a little bit of a setback. And then also just communicating how she's feeling, so we can have those conversations.
That's good. What are your thoughts, Donna? Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's easier for me to talk about the not so good days, or, if I'm depressed or, if something isn't working, it's like, well, yeah, it's okay to talk about it. It's, you have to, sometimes you just have to talk about it and you get another perspective. And then you're like, well, wait, yeah, it's not an all or nothing type of situation. It's just something that's happening in the moment. And, you kind of acknowledge it, you deal with it, and you move on.
Let me ask you this. For you, I want to bring up one thing that you mentioned. You said, you mentioned your age, and I talk to a lot of people who, as soon as they hit 60, they think they literally say, oh, it's too late, I shouldn't even try. But like you said, you're 60, like 66, 67. Like, I can't remember exactly. I think you said 60, 66. And you said that but you went hard with this already. Like, you're like, no, I want to run into this. So for you, like, I hear people making excuses all the time. They're going, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's too late for me. I'm too far gone. I've struggled for too long. But then you have you that just said, nope, not me. And you turned it around and took ownership of your life and changed this. So for you, what are your thoughts on what would you say to the people who are 60 and they're like, it's too late for me?
Oh, it's not too late. It's, I had a kind of a sit down and come to Jesus talk with myself. And it's like, I'm 66. What do I want? How do I want to see my future? And it's like, I want to be able to live on my own. I want to be able to do things. I just want to be able to have fun, enjoy life. I know people my age, they've got, illnesses that they're dealing with. They've got physical ailments that they can't move like they used to, or they're required, they need help. And it's like, no, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have somebody come in and help me get dressed, move around, take me to, drive me places. It's like, I want to do this stuff on my own. And, the way I was going, that was, not going to end up being a good thing, because I was just sabotaging myself. And it's like, I know I have to change if I want to continue living the life that I'm living.
That's so good.
And it was just kind of either you do this or you might as well just, get your blanket, sit in the chair and, wait for life to pass you by.
I get it. And I think it's really powerful that you take that much ownership over your life, because that's literally the epitome of I actually wrote an email on it just the other day where I say there's two types of dieters, and one person says, oh, everything's outside of my control, and they blame, versus the other type says it's all within me, and I'm my own savior. I'm the solution to my problem. And those are the people that change their life. You can't change your life and be a victim at the same time. And that's going to piss some people off, but that's okay. If that's the case, the show's probably not for them. So.
A lot of it is, it is up to me, because it's like, I can't expect someone else to tell me, well, you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and you're not doing this and you're not doing that. And it's like, well, fine, you can tell me that, but it's not going to change me. I've got to make those changes myself. And, it just comes down to, how happy do I want to be? How do I want to live my life? And, it's like, I want to be able to do things. I want to be able to still, drive. I want to be able to go hiking. I want to be able to do things that a lot of people my age can't do anymore because of physical, ailments. And, I don't want to have to depend on other people.
Absolutely. I totally get that. Sydney, were you going to say something? Did you have something to add to that?
I did. I forgot it, but then I remembered. So I was like, oh shit. So yeah, when it comes to age, time is going to pass by either way. So you can either do nothing about it, or just, it doesn't matter what age you are, do something every day that's going to make you help you get towards those goals. Whoops, I'm losing these headphones. I couldn't find mine, so they're my 10-year-olds. So they're a little small. But, realizing that it's gonna take time. That time's going to pass, and you're either going to do the things that are going to get you towards your goal, or you can just stay stuck. And I tell a lot of my clients this. I'm like, you have the opportunity every day to either do the harder thing now, which is, right, maybe you don't feel like getting your steps in. Do the hard thing and get your steps in. Maybe you feel like, I just want to eat all of the things and I don't want to track and stick to my plan. Pick the harder thing then, because if you don't choose the hard thing now, the hard thing is going to come. It's going to be a harder something later on, because then you're going to feel that guilt or shame. You're going to be like, I wish I would have done that yesterday, and then you didn't. So you're choosing a hard either way. You might as well choose the hard that's going to get you towards your goals.
Sure. That's the thing, is most limitations are self-imposed. It's so fascinating. Like, I've done some serious study of just how the brain works with everything, and like neurotransmitters and all that mess. And it's so crazy when we have something that we believe, our body literally just adapts and goes into it. Like, for example, like the placebo, it's why the placebo effect is actually a legitimate thing. You know, someone takes a sugar pill, but they believe it's actually the thing, and the symptom goes away. Like, they've literally done like studies of like, this test group got a boatload of testosterone, and this test group got a saline water, and they don't get anything. But not only did their strength and size go up in their muscles, but like the other group literally had their test levels elevate, like from like fake shots. And it's because the brain is a wicked motherfucker. So if people get to a certain age and they go, oh, it's too late for me, I don't have what it takes, it's just like your body goes, okay, I guess this is it for us. It's why you see people get like a cancer diagnosis and the doc says you have 1 month left to live, and you literally see the life leave their eyes, and to the day they die. Versus some people, they get the cancer diagnosis and they're like, fuck you, doc. Like, watch me, bitch. And then they live so much longer, you know, and Donna, I think for you, you've just got a really powerful belief system. You go, no, not me. I'm going to take charge of this. I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to be happy. And then but then the most important part, then you put your action behind it. I think that's what the magic has been for you.
I guess living in the past, it was always, I don't know how many times I said, you know, I would have, should have, could have. And it was like, well, you didn't. So let's move forward. And, you know, that thought was just like, well, yeah, if you tell yourself that, you obviously weren't successful at what you were trying to do, because right away you're asking, well, yeah, should have, could have, would have, and didn't. So now it's more of, you know what? Stay positive. You know, you're gonna, you know, I have bad days too, but it's like, I know it's just that moment in time. It's not going to be tomorrow or the next day. And, you know, I don't really look past what's coming up, you know, because someone had asked me, they're like, well, you signed up for this year of coaching, you know, what's going to happen at the end of it? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but that's a long time away. You know, I'm looking at what's happening right now. And, you know, when that time comes, I'll look at it then. But it's like, I can't predict the future. And, you know, I just have to live with what I know and what I'm doing now.
That's so good. You know, here's the thing though, because I can't answer that question. It's because, of course, there's a level of like, we don't know what life is going to look like in a year, but because of that, it's why we coach the way we coach, because my thing is, we don't want to just give you results. We want to give you a skill set that matches those results, right? Like we do our job wrong if you just get results, but you have no fucking clue how to keep them going, right? Like, of course, action is needed. Of course, the work has to be put into place, but this is my big pet peeve with a lot of other programs. It's why a lot of other programs have like career clients that have been for let's say like 10 years. Like I back when I was a personal trainer, I literally had clients who was with me for 5+ years, which is great, but it's because they didn't know how to do the things on their own, versus the point of a coaching program is to eventually make you self-sufficient. This way you can have the skills, right? I view it like a tutor. Yeah, some people need to be with the tutor longer than others, right? Some people are different. Some people just want to be with the tutor longer. Like, I'm one of those freaks that I want to have a coach probably for the rest of my life. So I will have coaches in areas of my life forever, because I operate better and I'm a better human when I have a coach. But the thing is, for you, a year from now, I can tell you right now, you're going to be even more of a different human than you are now, but you will not just have results, but you will have a skill set that matches those results. That way you can go and be successful without us, without being in the program, because we don't want you having to be reliant on us. This is also why my programs all have really long timelines. Like, we don't take people on who only want a quick fix. We don't take people on who only want to be here for 90 days. Like, everything we do is a minimum of like 6, 12 plus months, because I know it's going to take that long at least to change the way that your brain operates and to get you used to your new self. But so that's exactly what's going to happen. By the end of a year, you're going to have so much, not just success, but you're going to have so many skill sets and assets to yourself. That way you can keep them going forever.
Yeah. And, going through your modules, which, I've listened to them over and over again. And at first it was kind of uncomfortable, because you would ask uncomfortable questions, and it was like, well, yeah, no other program has ever asked questions or, said things are going to be uncomfortable at times. And, so it actually got me thinking. It's like, well, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable because not everything is easy. If it was easy, we'd be all doing it. And, I wouldn't learn anything. So, when you start asking those uncomfortable questions, it's like, I sit back and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to think about this, but it's part of the process. You know what? You have to think about it. You have to acknowledge things. And, like I said, it's almost like this weight gets lifted off your shoulders, and then it's like, okay, well, I can move on now.
What that is that's what we call the unseen is now seen. That's exactly what that is. That's why it feels that way, is because these parts of you that we will label as dark, these dark parts of us, but really the truth is, they're just, like a mentor of mine calls it, the unseenness is now seen. It's just these parts of us that we're not so happy about. We're a little bit ashamed about. Whatever the case may be that we've struggled with, that we've just put them behind us, suppressed them, hid them, distracted from them. Well, they're just now being seen. But when something is seen, now it can fly away, so to speak. It can move on. That's why we feel lighter almost, or why you have a breakthrough, you cry. Literally, it's why, like, we all have breakthroughs and we all get emotional. It's because that part of you is quite literally leaving, which is pretty cool. That's why it feels that way. So
I think when we had our last conversation, we were talking about the little wins, and successes and stuff. And, when I was talking to you about my sleep apnea, I just happened to actually mention it in passing. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, I just went to my sleep doctor, and I was diagnosed in 2015 with sleep apnea. In my first sleep study, I would stop breathing 45 times an hour. And my last doctor's appointment, I was down to 1 time an hour. And when I told you that, it was just like, I was kind of speechless, because the look on your face was like, holy shit, and then I was like, well, yeah, no big deal, I guess. As I was saying it, but then your reaction was like, oh yeah, I guess that is a freaking big deal.
I was going to say, we need to call it the elephant in the room, and there's been nothing little about your wins. Because I agree with you, we have to celebrate the little wins, but to call out the elephant in the room, with you, Donna, there's been no little wins. They have all been astronomical. Like that's what, like, it was. I remember exactly in our conversation, you go, yeah, I'm down from like 45 times an hour. So almost on the minute you quit breathing, just let's call it what it is, to basically gone. And you act like it was no big deal. I'm like, hold the fucking road. I don't even think you realized, because I said, do you realize you added 10 years to your, like, this is not hyperbole. This is not like hyping anything up. Like, on paper, you more than likely added another decade to your life. Sleep apnea kills people. Because of the physiological ramifications of sleep apnea, it literally will kill someone 10 years early. And like, you literally, because you showed up, because you followed the program, because you've been such a great client, you literally gave yourself the gift of 10 more years. Like that's why when you said, oh, see, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, who the fuck told you that? Like, like that is an astronomically big deal. Like Donna, I didn't tell you this. As soon as we hopped off the phone, I called Nick. So for those listening, Nick, who's a great friend of mine, he's a sleep coach. He's a sleep expert. And Donna found me through Nick because after she finished one of Nick's programs, Donna needed more help like with this stuff. So that's when she came over here to our program. I called Nick and I go, hey, are you sitting? I said, I have something to tell you about Donna. And he goes, should I be sitting down? And I said, yeah, you probably should. And I told him, and like, there was a solid like 5 seconds of like silence because of how big of a deal that is. And especially for Nick. Nick's like, bro, I'm about to fucking cry right now because of how big of a deal that is. Like that will literally like, I don't even think you understand still how massive of a deal. Like imagine being on your deathbed and then like having the opportunity to go, hey, if you hit this button, we're going to give you 10 more years. Like that's quite literally what happened. So,
and like you said, I don't think it's still sunk in, the significance of it. But when I saw your reaction, and Nick actually, he must have contacted me shortly after you talked to him. And it was just like, okay, yeah, this is a big deal. You know what? It didn't seem like it to me, but I'm like, well, fuck yeah, 10 years on my life, I'll take it.
Right.
And hopefully it'll be 10 healthy years.
Yeah. I mean, literally imagine, and Sydnee, I'm curious your thoughts on this too. Like literally imagine being on your deathbed, like for those listening, and you have the opportunity to buy 10 more years of your life, 10 more years with your kids, 10 more years with your husband or wife, 10 more years of good years, 10 more years of experiences, and 10 more Christmases, 10 more birthdays, 10 more whatever. It's like, I don't know anyone that wouldn't like empty their life savings for that. But this is why like coaching, like when people look at coaching and getting help, they look at it in the short term. Like I had a lady the other day, I won't say her name. And I'm not one, I don't play the hard sales game with coaching. Everyone knows that I don't play hardball. And people have to be ready for this. But I had someone tell me the other day, they're like, yeah, I don't have, after we had our conversation, she goes, yeah, there's just not enough money in the fund budget for that. And I go, can I ask you a really hard question? And this was through texting. Because she also had her reason for wanting to sign up for coaching was debilitating binge eating. Her kids, she can't like enjoy the life with her kids the way that she wants to. And she's worried about her kids developing eating disorders because of her behavior around food and how she doesn't enjoy her life because of all the issues around food and weight loss. And I go, if you don't mind me asking, is that considered fun money in your head? Is that considered like your kids potentially developing eating disorders because they're following mom's footsteps and you not being happy with your life? Is that in like fun budget? Is that the part of like it's segmented in the way that you think? And she goes, yeah, I think it is. I go, okay, well, best of luck to you. Here if you need me. Because I'm not one to tell, it's not my role to tell someone like you shouldn't think that way, but like that's the problem. Versus I don't know a single person on their deathbed who says, hey, how much is 10 more years worth to you? I think everyone I know would dump their bank account. But we can fix it now for a fraction of the price. Not just financially, but time investment wise, strenuous side, everything. Sydnee, what's your thoughts?
No, I totally agree with you. And I think people almost when they think about coaching, they have the blinders on of like the weight loss and that's it. Like we don't see everything else that it does, right? It literally changes who we are into this whole other person. And so even by just doing that and like changing your outlook on life and feeling like you can be successful in all of these other areas, that's a whole other reason too that I think that can help you live a longer and happier life. But yeah, I totally, if I had that opportunity to know that I could just do little things every day that are going to help me increase my time here, I would totally do that. One thing that I loved on Donna's welcome call, when I had asked her why this program? What was different about this? And she said that like all of her life, everything that she's done always started at plan B, like how to lose the weight, where with us, she's like, I finally have a plan A and I know where to start what's like to get to plan B. So I just thought that was super, super cool where she's like, I understand the first part and the why behind getting to where I want to be.
I love that. What do you think, Donna? Talk about that from your end of things.
Well, like I said earlier, it's like all the programs I was ever in, it was always about, how much you ate, how much weight you lost, and you had a timeline to do it. So it would be like, I'd join a challenge at the gym or something, and it was like a 6-week challenge. Well, all of a sudden you had to come 5 times a week to the gym. You had this many calories to eat. You had to drink this much water. And most of the time it was like, well, okay, I wasn't going to the gym 5 times a week. I didn't have a definitive calorie range that I stayed in. And, to go from drinking 80 ounces of water to 120 ounces of water, it was like, holy shit, you know what? Those are some big changes in a short period of time. And I struggled to do it. But, it's like, well, I've got this challenge, so I've got to do it. I've got to make all these, I've got to hit all these challenge points. And after the challenge was over, it was like, oh, okay, I'm done now. After I left the gym, I'd stop at McDonald's or Chipotle or someplace, and I would just revert back to my old habits. And I found out that slow and steady definitely works. It's like, you can't be expected to, like double your water intake or double your days at the gym right off the bat and think you're going to succeed or, it's going to be sustainable, because, in my case, it's not.
Challenges from my point of view are so hard because they don't allow for life to happen, because you're like, oh, I have to stay within this thing for 6 weeks. And then if some friend comes into town, like you can't go and enjoy that time. I've told this story with my clients a lot, and it is like one of the things that has stuck with me for so long. But several years ago, I had done a weight loss challenge at the office between me and another guy. And, I had to go on this work trip, and the challenge was ending like right after the work trip. I was the asshole who brought my food scale with me on the trip. Like at the hotel, I only would eat single ingredient items. I got nothing that I wanted to eat because I was so concerned about coming back and having to weigh in the next day that I was gonna lose. And so that's all I remember from the trip. And that there was this freaking cheeseburger that I wanted so bad. I still that's what I remember, is just being so obsessive about the food and not being able to enjoy, and I wasn't present because I was so anxious. And guess what? I came back and I was up on, the scale was up, and I about lost my freaking mind. But now I know that traveling can do it. All of these things can do it. I should have just had the damn cheeseburger and been okay with losing. And so whenever, the challenges are just so limiting because you just can't live life. Stuff is going to come up, right? It's been my birthday week this week, and there's another girl at the office who has a birthday. And so we've just had cake has been at the office, right? For my birthday and then her birthday. And I could choose to not be present, but I'm like, I can get right back on track. We can get right back on track. So
it's fun. I'm glad you brought that up, because even right now, at the time of recording this, I'm in the middle of our challenge, setting up for summer. But literally what I told everyone on the kickoff call is we're not losing weight. I don't give a fuck. I said, I don't want anyone to even try to lose weight during the challenge. So I said, well, I'm not even going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to teach you how to think. So I wasn't even picking habits for people. My goal with the challenge that we're in the middle of at the time of recording this was setting you up. It's why it's called setting up for summer, is setting you up for summer so you don't have to do stupid, crazy shit to lose the weight and all that kind of thing. But people were a little taken aback. They're like, well, how many calories should I be eating? I go, I don't know. I don't even know if you should be counting calories right now. We need to look at these other habits first. We need to do this week is the food freedom week. So everyone's posting their pictures of single serving ice cream and Snicker bars and all that stuff, because we have to unlearn this old consciousness around this stuff. So Donna, one thing I want to ask you that I think will be really valuable for those listening is, if you were because I really wanted this to be tactical for everyone listening. If someone were to come up to you and go, Donna, how'd you do it? They're like, they just see like you lost like this much weight in the last like 90 days and you fix your relationship with food while eating more and stop binge eating and you got rid of sleep apnea. How did you do it? What would you tell them?
Well, I stopped stressing about it. It's, in the past I would be, if I craved something, say, I wanted a Snickers bar and it was like, well, no, you can't have a Snickers bar. I would eat everything else around me to try to satisfy that craving for the Snickers bar when it's like, you know what, go have a frickin' Snickers bar and get it over with. So it's like, I eat, I eat what I want, but I eat within realistic, expectations. It's like, if I'm hungry for something, I'm going to eat it, but I'm not like, say, I'm not going to eat a whole box of Oreos. I'll have a few Oreos, because if I don't, I'm just going to keep eating stuff until I get to the point where, I'm just going to go have what I originally wanted. And, like I said, I've learned the understanding between emotional hunger and actually feeling hungry. I've started, actually, I've gotten pretty religious about this. I log all my food into my Fitness Pal. I'll start out in the morning, I'll log my breakfast, and then I put in what I think I'm going to eat for the rest of the day. And, I'll get a, good understanding of what my calories and protein are going to be. And I adjust through the day. And some days, I'm under on protein, I'm over on calories. But it's like, I don't look at that day. Sydnee has taught me, it's like, you don't look at each day, I'll look at my average. And it's, and I've learned it's okay. It's like, if you go over on calories one day, if you have that piece of cake or if you have that blizzard, the world isn't going to come to an end. It's like, you know what? I factored it in. I know what I have to do. And like I said, I've learned to acknowledge things and just move on. It's like, I can't change what I did, but I can look at, here's what I can do to improve myself in the future. And again, like I said, slow and steady works for me. Things have happened so gradually that, there wasn't like an aha moment. It's just like, I started doing things and, one day I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? There wasn't any specific moment where I said, oh yeah, this is working for me right now. I get it. It's like, it just gradually happened and it became part of, my daily life.
I tell clients all the time that what happens in the moment, so on date night, on vacation, if you have a blizzard at home, if you have a binge, right? That is not as important as what you choose to do after. Do you choose to just let that ruin your life, or do you just get back on track, right? So you could go on vacation for 3 weeks, be a total ding dong, eat all the things, not track, like eat till you're stuffed and you feel like crap. But do you allow that to carry on, or do you come home and you're like, okay, I'm back on track, and be okay getting back on track? So even if you have a binge, even if you have a Snickers, that's okay. But after you do that, what do you decide to do? That's going to make a bigger impact than what you do some of the time.
What's funny is I don't know if this analogy resonates for other people as much as it does for me. And I try to communicate it where so much, I always say it's not about getting knocked down. It's about how fast you can get back up. It's not even just getting back up. It's the speed at which you get back up. Because I think of it in terms of jujitsu and fighting. Because if I'm training with someone, I'm fighting someone, I'm in the middle of a match. And let's say I fuck up, put my foot the wrong place and I get smacked down and I get thrown. If I just lay there for even 5 more seconds, like, fuck, I'm a bitch. Why'd I do that? And just whatever, that dude is on top of me, demolishing me and getting so set up where it's going to be impossible for me to come out on top. But if I get thrown down and my first inclination is stand back up as fast as possible and fight as fast as possible, half the time I win the match. I'm back to 50-50 where I can win. But just like waiting and wallowing in my own self-pity of like, fuck, why did I do that? Or I'm tired. Dude is setting up and about to destroy me, about to destroy me. But it's no different with this. We all slip up. We all overeat. Last night, we have these little like chocolate cake thingies that Shelby has that got for us. And I had two because I'm like, it'll work out fine. And I'm like, why the fuck did I have two? My stomach was hurting. But I didn't just say, fuck the rest of the week. I was on a Friday night. I could say, fuck it today, fuck it tomorrow, and start back Monday. But I'm not. I literally was like back on track the moment I put my fork down. It wasn't even a binge. It was like, I probably shouldn't have had two. But I just finished drinking my water that night. I went to bed. I'm back. I'm literally like, I'm not even thinking about it today. It's the speed at which you get back up.
And now I've noticed it's like, when I do my little extra eating, it's like one day I had an apple fritter and 3 M&M cookies. And it was like, I didn't feel that great after I had that last M&M cookie. And it was like, you know what? You really didn't need to eat all of that, but I'm glad I did, because now it's like, hey, you don't feel so good. So let's look at what you actually, need to eat more than what you want to eat.
Mm-hmm. It's an awareness game.
Yeah, it's, and like I said, you've put into words things that I've thought about, but I could never put into a sentence. And now it's just like, oh yeah, wow, I can have those 3 M&M cookies, and it's, the world isn't going to implode, and I know that. Well, the one thing I used to do, and I'm sure people will maybe admit it or not admit it. When I was on other programs, you'd have to log your food, or log like Weight Watchers, your points and stuff. Well, I was under the impression in my mind that, well, if I ate something and I didn't log it, well, that didn't happen. And now it's, it was like, well, yeah, that's a little self-sabotage going on there. You're not admitting it to yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't admit it to yourself, how can I admit it to coach? And so now it's like, everything goes into my Fitness Pal. If, no matter what it is, it's like, okay, yeah, I did this, but I'm not going to lie to myself, and I'm not going to lie to Sydnee, because we're just wasting each other's time.
That's so good.
And, I think that's part of the process too, of admitting things to myself and acknowledging.
Well, it's the difference between, and here's the thing. I don't want anyone listening to get it misconstrued. There's no shame. There's no judgment. There's nothing like that. It's accountability, right? Like that's the magic is this is ownership. We have one of our core values that we use in coaching is we all have to take radical ownership over our own stuff. This is why, like, even in a coaching standpoint, like, I don't want anyone to view us as the savior. You are the savior. You're the one that has to show up. You're the one that has to follow the plan and do the work. You're the one that has to be consistent. We may lay out the blueprint. We may hold you accountable, but you are the savior to your own life. And that's where the magic happens. But that's the difference is I don't want, a lot of times people intermix ownership and responsibility and accountability with shame and judgment in like almost like the nasty side of it. But like we have to separate those. There's no room in this game for shame and judgment and hate and like condemnation around ourselves and stuff. But there is plenty of room for accountability, ownership, and taking responsibility.
Absolutely. Because, it's come to the point where it's like, if I can't be honest to myself, what's the point in talking to Sydnee and not telling you the truth? Because how are you going to help me if I'm lying to you? I'm lying to myself. It's it's just something that's counterintuitive to what I'm trying to the outcome I'm trying to get here. When you're talking about things not being easy and struggling, it's like, well, yeah, right now I'm struggling with the meditation thing, and I've always struggled with it. But normally, the first time I try it, and you're sitting there and you close your eyes and you're trying to clear your brain, and all of a sudden, I'd be thinking about, oh, what am I going to eat next? Or, gee, I should pay this bill, or, there's so many things there to think about. And now it's like, like I said, it's getting easier, but I'm not there yet. But now it's to the point where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to sit down in the morning. I turn on the TV. Well, shut the damn TV off for 10 minutes and just sit there and be quiet. It's like, yeah, I can do that, and it's slowly working. I'm getting there. It's a process, but, I'm not giving up.
I love that. That's so huge. That's so huge. Man, this has been so good. Sydnee, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in quick words from what Donna was just talking about with meditation, is that was always something that was really hard for me too. I would sit there and try and have that quiet time with myself. And if I had a thought come in that I didn't want to have, then I would be all focused on like, oh crap, you're not supposed to be thinking about that. You're not supposed you're supposed to just sit here. And so I've started imagining this like traffic circle thing going on in my head. And so if a thought comes in, I don't try to like stuff it away. I like let it come, take its turn through the circle, and then let it leave, and then kind of get back in the moment. So that's just been something that's helped me as far as like when you have those extra thoughts of I need to pay this bill, or what am I going to eat, or my kids are being crazy, all of the things. It's not, don't try and stuff those away. Just let them come through and then let them leave, and I'll get to you later.
You Arizonians and your roundabouts. Like
We don't actually have that many. When I was in Colorado last summer, I was like, dude, you guys like praise the roundabouts, because there are so many in freaking Colorado. There's like one by us kind of that I drive through sometimes, but
there's so many here in Indy and I fucking hate them. People don't know how to drive in them and I just want to blast through them. So it doesn't work out well.
Yeah. Minnesota's just building up there. I just want to say that, for me, finding and starting this program has made a huge difference in my life. My outlook on life has changed. My attitude's changed. I'm feeling better physically and mentally. And, I'm just so glad that I've had the opportunity to, be in this program and work with you guys. And, it's just made a monumental change. And, if anyone is thinking about doing it, I would say, go for it, because you're going to be absolutely surprised and happy with how you change your life.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a ton. That's exactly what we like to hear. So
even the energy coming from Donna today is so different from her welcome call.
Oh my gosh, it's totally different. I remember like our first call, like 100%.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome, ladies. Well, I appreciate this so much. Thank you for doing this. Were you going to say something, Donna?
Oh, no, I was just like, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I've been in the program for 16 weeks now. And if you would have asked me to do this, I would have just went, yeah, no.
I love it. I love it. And we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. I know if you stuck around, you hopefully got a little teary-eyed. Hopefully this made a mark on you and resonated. Now you have some new tactics and strategies and things to think about. Maybe you got a little bit of hope. That's all I want from this. Okay. So if this helped, before you leave, I got several things, a little housekeeping. Number one, subscribe to the show so you don't miss any episodes, because I've got some powerhouse episodes coming at you and you don't want to miss them. So be sure and you're subscribed to the show and leave a review. That way we can get this to more ears and things like that. Number two, if you are listening to this and you're tired of going through the struggle, if you feel like you were like Donna and for years and years or even decades on end, like have done all the diets and tried all the things and you're fed up and you're tired of this and you're not getting anywhere and you just wish there was someone to help guide you and show you and coach you the way to do this, so you don't have to be thinking about it as much anymore. So you have a proven system that you know is going to work for you and for your life. So you don't have to hop on the diet hamster wheel again, so you can get off and so you can enjoy your life, eat your favorite foods, lose weight, keep it off, and improve your life. And even like Donna may hopefully live longer, right? Like there's a lot on the table with this. So if you're tired of doing this on your own and you want results like Donna's, I would absolutely apply for coaching. So there's a special spot below, a link where you can go to apply for coaching, and then we can go from there and see if coaching is a good fit. Because before we ever do anything, I want to make sure it's a good fit on both sides, and then we can go from there. Otherwise, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you, and we'll talk to you next time.